everyone, welcome. My name is Veronica Alexander and I'm part of the team here at Swinburne Online that are helping you in your transition to quite a new educational environment and looking at how we can use online tools to really shift our teaching and learning practice. So today we're going to be sharing with you one of our favorite tools, which is Padlet. If you've never heard of it before, excellent. So I hope I inspire you. And if you have, I hope that I can show you some different ways of really getting the best out of this wonderful tool. So I'm going to very quickly go over the SAM-R model, but for more detail, please go to the second webinar where we look at technology more closely. And then I'm just going to explain to you why I love Padlet and walk you through some examples of how it can be used and show you the multimodal aspects of it. So the SAM-R model is attributed to Dr. Ruben Puertedura, and it really is looking at how we're applying technology to shift practice. And what we're interested in is being up here, which is what we call being in that transformation mode. So where we're not just using technology to replace what we could have already done, but how technology allows us to do things differently. Now, naturally, now being not in a traditional classroom and moving to online, we're already using technology in a transformational way, but we need to think about how we're differentiating, how we're sequencing the lessons for students, how we can use multimodal aspects to differentiate and allow them to demonstrate their learning in different ways. So using voice and video and a lot of integrated tools, which really Padlet does allow us to do. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So in a nutshell, why Padlet? Well, it's a really great interactive multimodal tool, as I'll show you. You get three free, that's a tongue twister, 3 free Padlets when you sign up. It actually is, you can do a lot with just 3 Padlets because it's essentially like, in its simplest form, an electronic whiteboard, but it's kind of infinite. So if you just keep adding to it, it keeps growing. And 3 would be a great way to get started. You can pay for a subscription for more, but you know, as a starting point, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to show you how user-friendly it is, how engaging it is. Kids really love using it, and it's super, super simple because you can do video, voice, everything within the one tool, and it's all at the click of a button. Sounds very cliche, but it really, really is, and that's why I love it. Just makes our lives easier. So without further ado, I'm going to take you over to the Padlet and I'm going to demonstrate some of these features that I love. All right, so I am a literacy specialist, particularly a spelling specialist, so you'll have to forgive me that the examples I'm showing you are largely literacy-based and spelling-based, but I think that if we can make spelling interesting using Padlet, basically you could make anything interesting, right? So this is an example, as you can see on your screen, of one of the ways that Padlet works. So this is called a shelf template. And as you can see up the top here, we've got the headings that we want to organize our work in, and underneath I've created these posts. And the way I've done that is basically if I go to the bottom here, I can just, for this one I have to press plus, and then I can add new things in. So I can just do a test post, for example, and then I can either upload a document, I can put a link in. So here you can see I've just put links in. I could search for something. If I wanted to look through all of my things, I can just take a photo and then I press these dots and I get all these other options. So before, when I made the mistake and I called it an electronic whiteboard, I'll show you why I meant that. It's got this drawing feature. So I can draw a little picture, or I could write some words. Oops, it's a bit difficult on here. And I press save, and then that drawing is going to be saved in that post, and I can write some text here, and there you go. It was that easy. Now I can set it up in the settings that people can comment, so my students could comment on these particular posts, or I could just make it a notice board feature where they can't interact with it at all. So where I would do that would be up here. So I'll do that again. You can press these little dots up here. You go to share or embed, and I can change the privacy. So I'm going to make it secret, so it's not public. Only people with the link can use it. Visitor permissions, they can only read, so nobody can post to my Padlet there. And I save that. The last thing I need to do, if I don't want students making comments, I'm going to go to the settings icon, and I'm going to turn off the comments there. And I can also turn off their ability to like or not like the posts. Okay, so that's pretty easy. That's pretty kind of standard across many platforms. Now, you might be thinking, well, this isn't that revolutionary. And no, in its basic form as an electronic whiteboard, we're not really transforming practice. But let me show you something else. There is another template that you can select when you create your Padlet, which is the world map Padlet. And I had a play around with this yesterday with my children, and I wanted to share this with you. This is quite a new feature, and it's quite exciting in many ways. So what I did yesterday as an example with my children, I said, well, let's go on a tour of Paris, because they were learning about the Mona Lisa. And I can just zoom in here. And they used some Google Maps, and they did some navigation activities. And what they did along the way was they had to find particular sites in Paris, and then they had to take some screenshots of the places they visited. And you'll see here that it's a bit differentiated because my son's in year 2, my daughter's in year 5. So the expectations for each of them was different. So my daughter had to, being the older one, provide an image and then write about where she had been. For my son, he was tired. It was one step too far. So all I required for him to do was to look up the place and put in his screenshot. Okay, so you can see, and he put his name there as well, so I knew which one was his as well. So my daughter did a little bit of a writing piece for each place that she visited as well. And so what they did was, to find the exact place on the map, they pressed this plus and then they typed it in. So they went to the Eiffel Tower, they started typing that in, and you can see that the option pops up there, and then the pin drops on the map. And just like the other post that I showed you, they could do a voice recording of their visit. They could have done, filmed themselves like this. Hi, this is me at the Eiffel Tower. They could have done a doodle drawing about it. It's pretty endless. So they could have also added an extra link, for example, of maybe a link to the website of the Louvre, for example. So the opportunities are endless. But what we're doing at home is basically we're going on a tour somewhere every day. So today's afternoon activities, they wanted to go to London and they wanted to go and visit London. So we're going to do the same thing. And over the course of being at home for however long they're going to be working from home, they want to visit as many places as possible. So we'll populate this map with all of their work. The other thing that is a great idea, we have books like Are We There Yet? And you could literally map the journey around Australia. And my family, we actually did a trip around Australia. So that was one of the activities we were going to do, was do a bit of a retell of the trip and actually find the locations we went to. And they could upload pictures, they could upload stories about those particular places. So it doesn't have to be the same activity at each place they visit. It's this multimedia, multi-literacies kind of experience. So this is wonderful for all age groups, just so they can see the map and they can understand location. So the children were really motivated by this because they were essentially doing maths and writing activities, but not really realizing that they were doing it. So that's very exciting. So let's have a look at another template that you can use. So this is the world map, which is great. You can also have a timeline template. So this can be used in many, many different ways. And in Padlet, there's a gallery that you can visit, and it shows you examples of other people's work. But this is one that I started playing around with for a writing activity. And we have to be mindful when we're working at a distance that we want the work to be sequenced. So we want the children to know where to start and the steps to take. And we want that to be very, very clear for them and the adults at home. So the idea of a timeline is great because we obviously move from left to right. So here I was setting up a descriptive writing activity. So first I wanted them to draw their monster characters, and what I could do in here, if I edit that, let me edit it please. Okay, so I press these little dots and I could do a film of myself actually modeling it. So I could get my little whiteboard out and I could model for them what I wanted to do. So obviously if for the younger students, you'd want to do more modeling, so I'd draw my little character and I'd talk about the detail that I'd want to use. Clearly drawing is not one of my strong points, so but I persist. And so I could video that to make it very clear. And then I want them to do something with that picture. So the next step is post your monster to the monster gallery. Now, the monster gallery is another Padlet, so all I would have to do is to go in here and put the link to that Padlet in here. And so then they could just click on it and go. So the next step was I wanted them to do some more work on it, and I really wanted it to be clear about what they had to do, because what I wanted was for them to put their work in just as a comment under their picture. So I did a little screen share, again, directly in Padlet. So I love that you don't have to go to another screen sharing app and put it in here. It all just happens within the Padlet. So I thought, well, I want to make sure they know where to put it. So all I did was I went to this feature here and I did a screen recording, and it went like this, and I chose what I wanted to record, and then it started recording my screen. So right now I'm recording my screen, and then when I press stop, save, it's going to appear in that particular box and it says here, will be done in a jiffy. I love it. I think the Padlet people have a good sense of humour. So I'll cancel that, but the video would appear like this, so the students will know, oh, there's a little video for me, I follow the instructions. There's a real power of video and voice recordings, and you can see that they're really short. So it's only 41 seconds. Bit of instruction so they know what to do. Next step, another bit of instruction, they know what to do. So you can see that's really quite a good feature, this kind of timeline moving along. Now, this is a little bit of a mock-up of 1 week's worth of spelling lessons. So unfortunately, I'm covering part of the screen, but we'll deal with that. So this is called the Canvas template, and I really like this one because it's free-flowing. It lets you move everything wherever you want it. It's not restricted into columns or grids. And what you can add are these arrows. So you cannot have the arrows if you don't want to. But let me just show you an example. I'm going to disconnect that one. So this is week 1, and I want them to be very clear about the direction they're going. So you can see they can just follow the numbers 4, 5, and they can keep going. If it's too squished, see, I can just move this box wherever I want. So it's really, really flexible. But what I want to do is I want to connect the post. So I go to connect post, and it tells me where do you want to connect it to? Well, this is step 1 here. You don't have to put a label, but you can, or you could call it start here, connect, and that would be there. So I've squished it a little bit so you can see it on the screen, but I can expand it, and it's kind of like an infinite whiteboard. So you can just expand it and the students just scroll along. So it's really, good for, organizing your information there. Okay. So you can see that I've done videos and then an activity, and then I've linked to another Padlet. So here the students, it says post your work in this gallery, and they click on that and then they're taken to this gallery. So I like the idea of giving opportunities for students to collect all their work together. So here it's very clear they're going to add into this column because we're learning about adding ing. So you can see they did the activity, they post the work, and then I can say the work is Veronica, and then I can upload it into here. Okay, so that's quite a nice idea as well. So we have to be thinking always about how are we going to give the instruction, what are the students going to do, and then what are they going to do with that work? Where are they going to post it to? And we want to make it as simple as possible. So you can see that this is a little bit of a free-flowing thing here. And just for spelling, I've recorded a spelling test as a voice recording, again, in Padlet. So if you go to the dots, you can do a voice recording. It was super, super simple, and it just plopped it straight back in that box. And then I did a dictation in here as well. And the great thing is the students can pause it, they can rewind it, they can listen to it. So it really gives them a chance to achieve success. Now, some people might not be happy with this free-flowing idea of the arrows. That works for me, might not work for other people. So I recreated this lesson sequence as a column. So you can do the shelf. So I could just do week 1 adding ing, and then I would make sure that all my lessons were in the right order so the children could just scroll down the columns and they get to the end, they've got their spelling test. I could do the same thing in I'll just close this, in a timeline. So same lessons, but now from left to right. The only problem with this is that I can only do 1 week at a time, unless I just keep going along the timeline, and then it would be quite tricky for the students because they'd have to kind of go, okay, I've done week 1, and then they have to keep scrolling until they find week 4 and week 5, for example. So I think I've shown you all the great examples. Here was another one. So I just did some activities for some broad general activities for spelling practice, and I just put them on the timeline so anyone can choose. And all I need to do now is go in here and do the videos that go with them. Again, I just go to here, video or voice record. I can upload an example of what the work might look like. I mean, in terms of having very clear, structured, modeled, guided, independent instruction, you can see that Padlet really offers us a wonderful way of doing it. And the best thing is all we need to do is then share the link. So we copy and paste the link from the browser. We can actually, you can share it to your Google Classroom directly. You could embed it. You can get a QR code if you would like to, if you'd prefer to do that. And then if you did like a portfolio of work, for example, you can save it as a PDF if you wanted to save it at the end of the day as well. So, oh, and this is a fantastic feature, the Excel spreadsheet. So I might show you on another one how that would work. Let's show you on this one. So share as an Excel spreadsheet. And what happens is, oops. It's always something, isn't it? And this is the amazing thing. Okay, this is wonderful for capturing your work from one year to the next. So you can see that the heading is clear. So you can see what the Padlet was. The link is all there. And then it shows you all the attachments. So the video is directly there that I videoed. I think that's a pretty amazing feature. Where did it go? Okay, there it is. So you can see all the data is captured. So if, for example, you used Padlet for students to upload their reading records, for example, so each child could have their own Padlet and they could be doing their reading assessments, you would then have the file captured here. Okay, so you could get the name of the book, the child, their reading sample captured in this link. So it would be a voice or a video recording. Now, obviously we have to be mindful of permissions and making sure we're setting the privacies, but in terms of being able to collect assessment data, in a way, like, look at this for your reporting. You can have all of your work samples in the one place. You can either look at the Padlet or the Excel file, and then you can add your comments into here. This is an invaluable resource that I really, really hope that you guys all get on board and start experimenting and playing with it, because as you can see, I'm having a lot of fun with it. So hopefully that's going to be really helpful for you. The best way to approach this is to really just start having a little bit of a play around. All right, so hopefully you've stuck around this long and you're inspired and excited. Try and create just one Padlet for one project. So pick a subject or pick a lesson, have a go. You can just start using it as your team communication, for example. I think have a go at thinking about how you could use it to collect assessment data, because it would make life really, really easy having everything in the one place. Think about how you could sequence your lessons using maybe the timeline or the Canvas template with the arrows, and just have a go at using the voice and the screen capture in the videos. You'll be so surprised at how easy it is that I bet you'll never go back once you start using it. So have fun, enjoy it, and good luck for the term ahead. All the best.